Hello, I'm Chris Whitaker, and today I'm here to give you an introduction and an overview to IoT and mobility, two areas we're seeing tremendous growth in. In fact, three of our top 10 deals last year in 2020 were mobility. And of course, IoT has great promise and great potential, and we're going to talk about that here in a moment. So let's jump in. So, welcome to the fourth industrial revolution. You may have heard this, you may have heard it referred to as the Industry 4.0. Which kind of begs the question, what were the first three? I don't know about you, I went around for the first or the second one, steam engines and electricity, arguably, two areas that really changed how we lived. It gave strength and power to machinery and light bulbs and so many things. Then along came computers, and I kind of group a clump internet in there as well. So computers and the internet. That was the third really large change. It just kind of changed the way we communicated, the way we did business. One of the interesting points here to point out is with computers originally kind of only knew what we told them. Whatever software we created, whatever information we put in via a keyboard or diskette, they were very helpful and they could compute, make decisions much faster than humans. But now we're in this fourth industrial revolution where we're kind of merging and the convergence of physical, digital, and biological even, which is known as the Internet of Things. In 1999, Kevin Ashton coined the phrase the Internet of Things, IoT as we shortened it to, and he was a Procter & Gamble, and he was trying to convince his C-level the importance of putting sensors in their supply chain so they could track assets and identify areas that they could improve their efficiency and effectiveness. And he knew that the C-level back in 1999, they knew what the internet was. It was all the rage, obviously. That was the third industrial revolution really kicking in the late 90s. And he basically just tacked on "of things" to the word internet in his PowerPoint presentation. And voila, the IoT was born as a phrase. And anyone in this industry will tell you, obviously it was known as machine to machine before that. And that's how you can really tell someone that's been doing it for a couple of decades if they refer to it as machine to machine instead of IoT. But either way, we're going to talk about how you as a partner can benefit and leverage this and better serve your clients. As with any overview, you need a definition. So basically, the Internet of Things, anytime there's an application or device that's collecting data and events that's used to generate insights, which translates into actions that are implemented to help improve a business or process. And we're going to define that a little bit further. But this is a good example. Even though this is not a commercial refrigerator, refrigeration monitoring apps and sensors greatly enhance efficiency and effectiveness. If you think about restaurants and even hospitals that are required and regulated to maintain certain temperatures in their walk-in coolers and walk-in freezers. For decades it was a thermometer inside of the walk-in refrigerator, and the employee would go in, read the thermometer, take the clipboard off the wall, and write down the temperature. And low tech, it works. Assuming the employee does it on time and doesn't pencil whip it and fill out the whole shift, and doesn't put a decimal in the wrong spot or read the thermometer wrong. There's obviously issues there with human error, but more importantly, you're paying someone to do a task that can be automated. And so by putting in an IoT sensor that can measure the temperature by the second is just invaluable, because it literally costs dollars a month versus hundreds of dollars a month when you add up how often that person has to go in there and check that, and then if it's not done correctly, the fines that come along with it. But having a automated sensor doing that kind of task is just one of the thousands of examples of IoT and how it can benefit businesses. Get asked a lot about this. I was like, Chris, I think I get what you're talking about, Internet of Things, but I really don't know if I understand what is it? What does it look like? Well, you probably have three of these four examples in your own life, in your own home possibly, from location tracking sensors, smartphones and smart products, watches, digital assistants, all these things are in our lives and are making our lives better and easier. Well, the same concept can be applied to businesses. That's kind of what we're going to look at in this video series. Some more information about why mobility, why IoT. Huge opportunity just in the next 12 months, looking at $500 billion. The forecast for the next 5 years is exploding up to 13 trillion. So huge opportunity. This is definitely the next wave of technology that is going to change businesses and change the way we live. As a partner, this is a greenfield opportunity. There's not a lot of competition in this space right now. A lot of partners either find it too complicated or they don't understand it. And frankly, maybe they're doing fine just selling landlines and dial tone or other technologies. So this is a great opportunity to look at your customer base and identify where you can help improve their business using technology. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you do that. Obviously, not only is it a greenfield opportunity, but it will be a new revenue stream. You're not replacing anything. You're not swapping out one landline supplier for another. This is all net new revenue. And of course, it's adding great value to your customers, to your clients. It's helping their business grow and give some information that they really never had before at their fingertips. And I'll explain what I mean by that here in a moment. Got to have the chart. We're that blue area. That's the enterprise area that most of us will be selling into. We're finding more and more suppliers are even developing nice IoT solutions for SMBs. The consumer market is obviously well on its way, and so many of us are using those products I showed earlier, and then many more, right? I like this slide. 5G is going to be a huge impact, have a huge impact on IoT mobility. We're not going to go really deep into 5G right now, but in a later series later video we will. But this chart really kind of illustrates several of the use cases and how 5G will have a huge impact on them. I argue some of these numbers are even bigger, especially in healthcare. So you have from healthcare to education, oil and gas, construction and mining, industrial, manufacturing, even retail. Retail is really having some really cool IoT technology that's making retail much more efficient and effective, as well as connected cities, connected communities. We're going to touch on that a little bit. It's just really cool how technology is just touching every aspect of our lives, and many of us expect it and probably don't even realize it's there. So let's dive into the 4 pillars of why IoT. The first one is most exciting to me. Having been in telecom sales for over 20 years and having sold a lot of different landlines and fiber and dial tone, did you ever find those conversations are like Groundhog's Day? They're just kind of repetitive. Hey, let me see a copy of your bill. I'll save you 30%. I'll give you better service. What happens when the internet goes down? How does that impact your business? So the good news is you're kind of asking a lot of these discovery questions already, but now you can even go deeper into the business. It's more of a business conversation than it is a technical conversation. So remember that as you have conversations with your customers and their staff. It really touches every department, and that's where IoT is going to help them with this second pillar, E&E. I call it E&E. It's a management term from years ago, but it's efficiency and effectiveness. You can have one without the other. You can get the job done, but not be very efficient. It costs a lot of money or take a long time, and vice versa. It can be cheap and easy, but not very effective. So the goal is, how can you leverage technology to be effective and efficient and provide that better outcome for not only their business but for your customer as well. I like this third one because it takes it a step further. The value in solving the problem and automating a once manual process is only half the equation. The other part is all the information that can be gained from all these different sensors. In the past, business owners and business leaders had to use spreadsheets and employee feedback on different operational processes to determine how they should budget forecasts for the future. With so many IoT sensors that are given real data, real time, in a actionable manner in a dashboard or some type of graphical user interface, it's very helpful for business leaders. No longer they have to guess. They're getting real live data. That's very helpful. Of course, if we do all three of these effectively, we're going to have a positive ROI either immediately or in a very short order. Going back to that refrigeration example in the hospital where you have a nurse that's making six figures, going in, they have to go in there every now and then to get medicine anyway. While they're in there, they can just check the thermometer and write down the temperature. Well, still not very convenient for that nurse. Who probably already has a very busy schedule already, a lot of patients to take care of. Life or death matters, and checking the thermometer and writing it down on a clipboard is probably not the top of the priority list. So automating that procedure literally has an instant, huge savings for that hospital. And it helps whenever the inspectors come by, they can just open up an app and print off the report, and it's they're in and out. There's no fine. Everyone's happy, and it's very efficient, very effective. So some top verticals. Again, this is an introduction, so we're going to go deeper into these verticals in the later series. But I just kind of want to hit on a few three that seem to come up a lot lately. Panic buttons, kind of has that scary term to it, panic. But another way of looking at it is associated alert. I believe Marriott refers to it as. And look at it as, think of it as, I've fallen, I can't get up kind of button, but much better, much more advanced. The fallen, I can't get up button from decades ago was just really a two-way communication to get help. Well, now, even if you can't communicate, the device has the ability to tell someone where you are exactly, whether it be through different readers throughout the building. It's very common. A lot of states are actually passing regulation for like housekeepers at hotels and resorts, or janitors that are referred to as lone workers. They're working off somewhere by themselves. If they have a medical emergency, or if someone's harassing them, or they're having a kind of a crisis moment, they can push this button, whether it be a wearable or on their desk or somewhere easily to get to. It notifies management, security that they need help, and this is something that you could ask your hospitality customers about. Preventive maintenance, another one that's pretty hot right now. You think about everything in a supply chain. There's usually a machine somewhere doing something, making that product. If that machine fails or breaks, it stops production, which means the revenue recognition will be delayed. So no one in the manufacturing industrial business wants to see failure of any kind of machinery. So there are a lot of IoT sensors that are literally, they're simple. They actually measure heat and vibration, as an example. Any machine that's working at its prime has a certain tolerance level of what the vibration and heat looks like. So if it increases or decreases either way, an alert can be sent to the maintenance staff to go check out that device and potentially fix it before it fails, which would cause loss of revenue. A good example of this is outside of the industrial manufacturing example would be, think about ice boxes at convenience stores. On a Saturday, you're going to the lake, you're going to a cookout, you pull up to the gas station, you open up the ice box out front, and it's empty. Well, that's a big bummer, because you need ice to go to the picnic you told your friend or your family you'll be bringing the ice. Well, there's also a problem for the ice distributor. So there are actually two different IoT sensors that are used in this example. There's actually sensors that can measure the volume of that ice box and determine if it's full, half full, 3/4 full, a quarter full, and at certain milestones it can trigger to tell the local distributor to come and fill that ice box. And just as importantly, as I discussed with the preventive maintenance, there's a compressor on top of those ice boxes that keeps it an active freezer, right? So if that compressor and that refrigeration freezer unit gets out of tolerance of vibration or heat, it also notifies maintenance. They could come and check that thing out so it doesn't become a box full of bags of water, which no one's going to buy that, right? A high dollar asset tracking. This is another hot one, for a lot of different areas. Healthcare has got so many IoT use cases, and we often focus on the patient aspect, remote patient monitoring and whatnot. But there's also just a lot of high dollar assets that are on wheels in a hospital. Think of even wheelchairs and hospital beds. Yes, they're stolen, wheelchairs are lost, and this causes the hospital to have to reorder or overstock these items. IV stands, respirators, EKG machines, ultrasound equipment, even x-ray equipment. There's a lot of high dollar equipment in a hospital that moves around, and not only do they want to make sure it's not stolen, but if they need to find it in a pinch, they don't have to have a nurse. Again, they're paying a large sum of money to go look and find something that's hidden in a closet or behind a door in some patient's room. So there's actually the solutions and sensors that tells them exactly where it is. Some up and coming ones, residential MDUs, that stands for multi-dwelling units. And the new amenity of this new era we're in, it's no longer a swimming pool and a steam room and a racquetball court, but it is smart units. Think about Ring doorbells, Nest, thermostats. You can control the temperature of your unit, security, smart outlets. This is what people are expecting now. And if you have a client that is in that arena of managing commercial properties or even multi-dwelling units, think of apartment complexes and condos, even VRBOs, all of these things can benefit from a smart unit type solution. Connected communities, also known as smart cities. Cities are using this technology for parking lots, parking decks, if you will, street lights, smart parks, flood and water notification. There's some areas that not only does that city benefit, but the city downstream could benefit if they're seeing a flash flood scenario that may impact downstream cities or communities, and giving them a heads up and alert is very beneficial. People counting in this day of COVID we're in, and one may argue or debate if how long this is going to be a thing, but it most likely will be important regardless. It's just people counting, whether it be in retail stores or in school systems. And of course, when you go into school systems, there's a lot of use cases there, from RFID tagging on students' ID cards. Think about elementary school and kindergartners, maybe a backpack tag. This is important for even school bus riders. Every so often you hear about the kid that got left on the school bus. He was asleep in the back of the bus, and it was a Friday afternoon, and the bus got locked up in the depot yard, and the kid never came home. And of course they find the kid, and hopefully it's a happy ending where he's just hot and probably thirsty. But that could also turn out bad. And then think about the real tragic scenarios of school safety of shooters scenarios, active shooters. And it's a very scary but real problem, and technology can help with that. From smart cameras and video systems that can detect if someone has a gun or a rifle coming in from the parking lot and automatically lock the front doors. And of course, these same companies, Defender is one of our suppliers that does this. It's a great solution. Can even, put bulletproof ballistic glass in these front doors, because obviously if the door's locked, the bad guy's probably going to try to shoot his way in. There's so many parts of that solution we could go into in a later video, and most likely will. So just a little sneak peek of some of the use cases that are really hot right now. If you're new to this part of the business, chances are you don't know all the suppliers that play in this space of mobility and IoT. So if you go to the Telarus back office and you look at the second row under quoting tools, you'll see the matrices. And if you click on that, it'll pop up a menu, as you see here on the right, and has all of our advanced solutions. We have several matrices that kind of take this complicated, large, growing field of suppliers. It makes it easy for you to determine which suppliers you need to work with and you need to get to know. By clicking on the matrices of any of those, we'll focus in on the mobility and IoT one here. If you click across the top row, you see different solutions, the different use cases, and by clicking on those actual little columns, you will eliminate the suppliers that do not offer that particular solution. So if you're looking for fleet management and cold chain monitoring, and you click those two, it's going to eliminate the suppliers that do not do it, just leaving you with a shorter list of the 3 or 4 suppliers that will do it. So now you know who to contact, and my team can help you with that. Or as you develop relationships with the channel manager of these different suppliers, you just go straight to them, and obviously they'll help you qualify and vet out your opportunities. So as we wrap up this introduction, I also want to leave you with 3 mistakes to avoid. Every shiny object's worth chasing, probably a mistake. Skipping a pilot, well, we'll talk about that. And trusting but not verifying. We know that can cause problems as well. So let's unpack this just a little bit. Now, as much as I love the IoT, I love technology and all things cellular, chasing every little opportunity can really cost a lot of time, spend a lot of time and a lot of work cycles. So just be aware of that. If there's no opportunity to increase efficiency or effectiveness, or if there's no real need, or there's no budget, or the time frame that they need is unrealistic, or there is no time frame, and these are all indicators that it's probably not worth going after, because you can spend a lot of time on it, as you'll find as we have these conversations through this series of videos. So the second one, skipping a pilot. I've been involved in a lot of deals where skipping a pilot seems, popular by all of us. The customer's in a hurry, they realize the value, they see the money they're going to save. Hey, we as partners, you don't get paid until the first bill goes out, kind of thing. So, hey, it works. The marketing material looks great. Why do a pilot? Well, the larger the opportunity, even if for a single site deal, once you deploy something and a month or two later the customer realizes it's not meeting their needs or it's not working as advertised, that's a problem. So always look for the opportunity to do a small scale proof of value, proof of concept, a pilot, a lab. There's a lot of different terms people call this, but it's worth your time. It's a great selling tool as well. I'll tell you, if like 90% of the time, if you get one of these in place, the deal is done. If you've done all your due diligence correctly, you've got the right supplier, you've had the right technical review calls, and you set up what's the end game, what does success look like. To me, you should never do a pilot or proof of concept without getting customer buy-in to agree, hey, look, we've identified your problem, and through this pilot process, if this problem's solved and it works exactly as planned, is this something you want to move forward with? Make sure there's budget for it, make sure it fits into their budget cycle. All these things are important, and it's a great closing tool as well. And lastly, trust but not verify. If it's on our IoT matrix, got some great marketing slicks, marketing departments, it's part of their job to get you to look at the shiny object, right? But make sure before you even bring a supplier into a call with your client and your customer, have that pre-call. Understand what their offer is. Find out, do they bring in third parties, or maybe they only sell a part of the IoT stack. And again, if you talk to me or one of our solution engineers and solution architects, and we can help you advise and guide you toward the suppliers that will do the complete stack. And we have some great suppliers, because not every customer needs the complete stack. They already have the sensors in place. They just need a platform, or they just need connectivity. So kind of depending on what the IoT solution looks like and where are they in that cycle of development will determine which kind of or which supplier you would need to go with. So having that pre-call and making sure you understand what they're offering is so important. Okay, so that kind of wraps up our introduction to IoT mobility. Please check out the next videos. We're going to talk about the components of IoT solutions and start looking at some specific use cases I think you'll find helpful. So again, thanks for watching, and check out the rest of the series.